Before you spend a single pound of your pension rise, stop immediately. Because what I am about to reveal will shock every pensioner across the United Kingdom. The government is proudly announcing an increase in your pension for 2025, but hidden deep inside the upcoming budget documents are 6 new stealth taxes and financial traps that most pensioners will not see coming. These new rules are quietly positioned to take back far more than the pension rise delivers, and for many people, the cost will climb into the thousands. Most pensioners will not notice any of this until it is far too late, until money begins disappearing, tax demands start arriving, and income that was once tax-free suddenly becomes taxable overnight. But if you stay with me for the next few minutes, I will walk you through every hidden change in clear and simple English. You will understand exactly how these new rules could impact your pension, your savings, your retirement income, and your financial future, and more importantly, what you must do right now to protect yourself before these changes quietly go into effect. Welcome to Pensioners Power, your trusted source for everything you need to know about pensions, retirement planning, and financial wellness. Here, we cover the latest news, expert insights, and essential updates to help you maximize your retirement years. Whether it's understanding pension schemes, making the most of your savings, or staying informed about financial changes, you're in the right place. If you're new here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss an important update. Now, let's jump right into today's topic. Now let's get into the shocking truth about the 2025 pension rise. On the surface, the government is celebrating a higher state pension under the triple lock. Politicians are giving speeches, headlines are boasting about increases, and many pensioners feel hopeful that finally there is some extra breathing room with the cost of living still biting hard. But as always, the headline is only one tiny part of the real story. Because when you look closely at the 2025 budget, when you read the fine print that no one on TV is talking about, you discover a completely different reality. The reality is that this rise does not stand alone. It comes bundled with frozen tax thresholds, increased tax rates on savings and dividends, new rules affecting employer pensions and contributions, property-based levies for people with valuable homes, and stealth changes designed to push pensioners into higher tax payments without ever announcing a tax increase. The rise you receive on one side could be outweighed by what the government quietly takes back on the other. Let's break this down in a clear, simple way. First, you must understand a term that affects almost every UK pensioner in 2025: fiscal drag. Fiscal drag happens when the government freezes tax thresholds, meaning the amount of money you can earn before you pay income tax stays exactly the same year after year, even through inflation, even through cost of living increases, even through pension upratings. While everything around you goes up in price, your tax-free allowance stays frozen. And here is where the government benefits at your expense. Your pension rises a little each year. Your savings interest increases because rates are higher than before. Your private pension might be uprated slightly, but because the thresholds do not move, that increase pushes you into tax territory. Suddenly, income that was previously tax-free becomes taxable. Pensioners who never paid a penny in tax on their retirement income may now receive a surprise bill for the very first time in their lives. This is why many people will see their pension go up by a few £100s in April, only to lose that amount, or even more through new tax charges by the end of the year. Next, you need to understand the changes to savings and dividend taxes. The budget raises the tax rates on savings income and dividend income by a few percentage points, but those small numbers hide a big impact. If you depend on interest from your bank account, income from ESAs, dividends from shares, or investments in funds, you are going to feel this change. Many pensioners have modest savings, and up until now, they have enjoyed minimal tax on interest. But under the new rules, Even moderate interest earned from the savings accounts you rely on to get through retirement can become significantly more expensive. A pensioner who previously earned, for example, £800 in annual interest might have paid little or nothing. Under the new rates, the tax bite becomes noticeable, especially when combined with frozen thresholds. What feels like a small change in percentage points can quietly remove hundreds from your annual income. There are also critical changes coming to employer pension contributions and salary sacrifice schemes. These mainly affect people still working or those who recently built up pension pots. Salary sacrifice used to be a widely used method to reduce national insurance while boosting pension contributions more efficiently. But the 2025 budget introduces tighter rules and stricter limits on how much people can contribute tax efficiently. The long-term effect of this is that future retirees will have smaller tax-efficient pots, and people currently approaching retirement may find their planned contributions restricted. This reduces the effectiveness of retirement planning and forces some people into less efficient savings methods, ultimately leaving some pensioners with smaller pots than expected or facing higher taxes in the future. Another part of the budget focuses on property-based levies aimed at high-value homes. Even if you are a pensioner living on a modest income, the government may consider you wealthy simply because your home has increased in value over decades. The new rules introduce additional council tax charges or value-based levies targeted at expensive properties, regardless of the owner's income. Pensioners living in long-held family homes may suddenly face higher yearly bills, forcing tough decisions: find extra cash, downsize, remortgage, or absorb the financial pressure. For older pensioners, this is especially worrying. They may be asset-rich but cash-poor, and these levies could force them into unwanted financial rearrangements late in life. But the picture gets even more complex. Many pensioners do not rely solely on the state pension. They often have a mix of private pension income, savings interest, small employment or business income, rental income, ESAs, or dividend-generating investments. The 2025 budget touches almost every single one of these income sources. And while each individual change may seem small, it is the combination of them that will quietly strip money away from pensioners over the next few years. For example, imagine a pensioner who receives the full state pension, a modest private pension drawdown, and maybe £600 a year in savings interest. Under frozen thresholds and higher savings tax, this person could be pushed into the taxable income bracket for the first time. They start paying income tax on both their state and private pensions. Meanwhile, their savings interest becomes more expensive. A situation that once felt comfortable becomes financially pressured, not because anything changed in their lifestyle, but simply because the government quietly froze the numbers that matter most. It is also essential to understand how slowly and silently these changes work. Fiscal drag is not an immediate hit. It is gradual, invisible at first, and then suddenly obvious 5 years later when you realize you are paying hundreds or thousands more in tax without ever hearing a government announcement. Pensioners who are barely under the allowance today may be pushed over the threshold next year or the year after. Once they cross that line, they may never go back under it. The number of pensioners paying income tax is expected to rise sharply every year that thresholds remain frozen. This is not accidental. It is designed this way. It is a tax rise without the government ever saying the words tax rise. Now let's talk about how you can protect yourself, because despite how overwhelming this sounds, there are steps pensioners can take to reduce the impact. The first thing you must do is understand exactly where your income falls. Many people underestimate their combined income because they only think of their state pension. But your income includes everything: state pension, private pensions, workplace pensions, savings interest, dividends, rental income, and even the taxable portion of certain benefits. If your combined income is close to the frozen personal allowance, then you are at high risk of being dragged into paying income tax for the first time. Understanding this gives you power. It lets you plan, adjust, and prepare. Another key area is tax-efficient savings. ISAs remain incredibly important because interest and dividends generated inside an ISA are not taxed. If you have spare savings sitting in a normal bank account earning interest, that interest may now be taxable under the new rules. Moving this money into an ISA, if you have allowance available, could protect it. But be aware, the government is reviewing ISA rules, and changes may come in future years. That's why you must pay attention to each update on this channel, because small alterations to ISA rules could drastically shift the best strategy for pensioners. If you are a pensioner who owns property, especially a valuable property in the south of England or a major city, you must prepare for the possibility that your council tax or related property charges may increase. Governments often target property because they know homeowners have nowhere to hide. They cannot move their house offshore. They cannot disguise its value. They cannot avoid paying the charge. If you are asset-rich but cash-poor, meaning you have a valuable home but limited income, you must seek advice early to avoid being forced into selling your home later under pressure. If you receive pension credit or other means-tested benefits, the situation is different. In many cases, pension credit can buffer you from tax increases by boosting your income in specific ways or granting you automatic access to additional entitlements. But because pension credit is one of the most underclaimed benefits in the UK, millions of eligible pensioners are missing out. If you think you might qualify, you must check. Even an extra £40 a week could be the difference between being hit by new taxes or staying comfortably within allowances. And finally, you must stay informed. These changes do not all hit at once. Some begin in 2025, some phase in slowly, some depend on inflation, and others depend on how thresholds shift in future budgets. A single adjustment to one tax rule can completely rewrite your financial picture. That is why you cannot afford to stay in the dark. When the government freezes a threshold or raises a rate, it might not make breaking news on TV, but it might take hundreds out of your pocket over a year. So here is your key takeaway. Yes, the pension rise is real. It is happening. But it is only one piece of a much larger picture. For pensioners living solely on the state pension with almost no savings, the rise may be a genuine net positive. But for the majority of pensioners who have private pensions, savings accounts, small investments, rental income, or valuable homes, the government may quietly take more than they give. And that will not happen in one big hit. It will happen slowly, silently, year after year, through frozen allowances, rising taxes on savings, higher charges on property, and changes to pension rules that politicians never mention in their speeches. If you want me to create personalized example scenarios with real numbers, showing exactly how these rules will affect pensioners at different income levels, I can do that next. I can also create a clear, easy-to-follow checklist you can use to prepare before the next pension payment arrives. Just tell me which one you'd like, and I will produce it for you. Thank you for watching Pensioners Power. If you found this video helpful, be sure to give it a thumbs up and share it with others. Stay informed, stay engaged, and we'll see you in the next video with more insights on the issues that affect the UK. Take care, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel for all the latest updates.